Mingy sat alone in the listening station on the moon. It was a quiet night, like every other night for the past 2 years. Her job was simple. She listened to the stars. She searched for signals that were not natural. Most of the time, she heard nothing but the empty hum of space. But tonight was different. The signal came at exactly 3:47 in the morning. Mingy almost missed it. She was tired and thinking about sleep. Then the computer started screaming. Every screen in the room turned red. Warning lights flashed. The signal was strong. It was organized. It was not natural. Mingy's hands shook as she worked the controls. She filtered the signal and cleaned it. Then she heard the voice. It was not human. The words were translated by the computer into cold, flat English. Species of the third planet, you have been found. Surrender your world to the Valoran Empire. Serve us, and you will live. Refuse, and you will be erased. You have 3 of your planetary rotations to decide. This is your only warning, the message repeated. Again and again. Mingy recorded everything. Then, she sent an emergency alert to Earth. Her hands were still shaking when she made the call. Within 1 hour, every government on Earth knew about the message. Within 2 hours, telescopes found the source. A fleet of ships sat at the edge of the solar system. The ships were huge. The smallest ones were bigger than any building on Earth. The largest one was the size of a small moon. There were over 200 ships in total. Within 3 hours, Secretary General Hannah addressed the United Nations. In an emergency meeting, Hannah was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes. She had led the United Nations for 6 years. She had dealt with wars, diseases, and disasters. But nothing had prepared her for this moment. She stood at the podium and looked at the faces of world leaders. They were all afraid. She was afraid too, but she did not show it. We have received a message from an alien civilization, she said. Her voice was calm and steady. They call themselves the Valoran Empire. They have given us 3 days to surrender Earth. If we refuse, they will destroy us. The room exploded with noise. Leaders shouted questions. Some demanded military action. Others demanded surrender. Hannah raised her hand and waited for silence. We do not know much about them yet, she continued. But our scientists have analyzed their fleet. They have technology far beyond ours. Our military experts believe we cannot win a direct fight. Then we must surrender. Someone shouted from the back, and become slaves? Another voice replied, Never. Hannah let them argue. She understood their fear. She felt it too. But deep inside, she had already made her decision. She would not surrender. She could not. Humanity had fought too hard to reach the stars. They had built cities on Mars. They had created wonders. They would not kneel to anyone. We will not surrender, Hannah said finally. The room went quiet. But we will not fight blindly either. I am calling a meeting with our top military and scientific leaders. We have 3 days. We will find a way. Far from Earth, aboard the massive flagship of the Valoran fleet, High Commander Keth watched the human broadcasts with mild interest. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 eyes that never seemed to blink. He had conquered over 60 worlds for the Empire. Each conquest was the same. The weak species begged, then died. They are discussing surrender, one of his officers reported. Keth made a sound like a laugh. They always discuss. They never decide fast enough. It does not matter. Prepare the Sundering Beam. The Sundering Beam was the pride of the Valoran Empire. It was the weapon that had made them rulers of the galaxy. The beam gathered energy from a small artificial star inside the flagship. When fired, it could crack a planet in half. No shield could stop it. No armor could survive it. It was death itself. The beam will be ready in 3 planetary rotations, the officer confirmed. Good, Keth said. Let them talk. Let them hope. It makes the ending sweeter. On Earth, Commander Junho gathered his team at the Global Defense Research Institute. Junho was a soldier who had become a leader. He had fought in small wars on Earth and led the first defense fleet around Mars. He was not a man who gave up easily, but even he felt the weight of this moment. "We need options," he told the scientists. "Anything. Everything. I do not care how crazy it sounds." Yuna raised her hand. She was the lead physicist at the institute. She was young for her position, only 34 years old, but her mind was sharp. She had solved problems that others said were impossible. "Commander, I need to know more about their weapons," she said. "What exactly are we facing?" Junho showed her the data. "They call it the Sundering Beam. It is essentially a focused energy weapon of massive scale. It has destroyed entire planets." Yuna studied the data. Her assistant, Taeyeon, looked over her shoulder. He was even younger than her, just 26. But he had a gift for seeing patterns that others missed. "Energy follows rules," Yuna said slowly. "Even alien energy. If it can be created, it can be redirected." "You want to redirect a planet-killing weapon?" Junho asked. "I want to study the possibility," Yuna replied. "Give me time." Junho nodded. "You have 3 days." "We all do." That night, Hannah sent humanity's response to the Valoran fleet. It was short and simple. "We refuse your demand. Earth will not surrender." High Commander Keth received the message and smiled. He had seen this defiance before. It never lasted. In 3 days, Earth would burn. Another world would fall. Another species would become dust. He was certain of this. He had no doubt at all. He would soon learn that certainty was a dangerous thing when dealing with humans. Taeyeon did not sleep that night. He sat in his small office at the Research Institute and stared at the data on his screen. The numbers told a terrible story. The Sundering Beam was powerful beyond imagination. It carried enough energy to crack Earth like an egg. No shield in human history could stop it. No weapon could destroy the ship that carried it. But Taeyeon was not looking for a way to stop the beam. He was looking for something else. Energy, he knew, followed rules. It could not be created from nothing. It could not be destroyed completely. It could only be changed, moved, redirected. This was basic physics. This was truth. He ran simulation after simulation. He tested ideas and threw them away. Hours passed. His eyes burned. His head hurt. But he kept working. Then, at 4:17 in the morning, he found it. The Sundering Beam was powerful, but it was still just energy. Electromagnetic radiation and plasma moving in a focused stream. And what happened when light hit a mirror? It bounced back. Taeyeon laughed. It was a tired, crazy laugh. The idea was insane. A mirror big enough to reflect a planet-cracking beam would need to be enormous. It would need to be perfect. The math was almost impossible. Almost. He spent another 2 hours checking his calculations. Then he ran to Yuna's office. Yuna was also awake. She had dark circles under her eyes and a cold cup of coffee on her desk. She looked up when Taeyeon burst through the door. "I have an idea," he said. "It is crazy. But it might work." He showed her the data. He explained the concept. A massive reflective array, built in orbit, positioned directly between Earth and the Valoran fleet. When the beam fired, the array would reflect it back. Not just reflect it, but focus it. The enemy would be destroyed by their own weapon. Yuna listened without speaking. Her face showed nothing. When Taeyeon finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "The array would need to be the size of a continent," she said finally. "Yes, it would need to be perfectly aligned. 1 degree of error, and we miss completely. Yes, the reflective material would need to withstand temperatures beyond anything we have ever tested. Yes." Yuna looked at the data again. She ran her own calculations. Minutes passed. Then she looked at Taeyeon. "The math works," she said. There was wonder in her voice. "It actually works." They went to Commander Junho together. It was early morning now. The sun was rising over the institute. Junho looked like he had not slept either. His uniform was wrinkled, and his jaw was tight with stress. Tell me you have something, he said. Why? UNA explained the plan. Junho listened. His expression changed from doubt to surprise to something that might have been hope. A mirror, he said slowly. We are going to build a giant mirror and reflect their weapon back at them, Yuna said. If we can build it in time, if we can position it correctly, if the materials hold, that is a lot of ifs. It is our only option, Commander.
Oh.
Junho was silent. He walked to the window and looked out at the morning sky. Somewhere out there, beyond the blue, an alien fleet waited to destroy everything he loved. His family, his home, his world. How do we build it? He asked. Taeyeon stepped forward. Our orbital factories already produce reflective metamaterials for solar collection. We have ships. We have workers. We have resources on Earth, Mars, and the asteroid belt. If we use everything, if everyone works together, we can do it. In 3 days? In 3 days? Junho turned to face them. His eyes were hard. Then, let us call a meeting. 1 hour later, Secretary General Hannah stood before the world's leaders again. This time, Yuna and Taeyeon stood beside her. They explained the plan. They showed the math. They answered questions. Some leaders laughed. Some called it impossible. Some said it was suicide to try. But Hannah silenced them all with one question. Does anyone have a better idea? No one did. Then we build the mirror, Hannah said. Every factory, every ship, every worker, everything we have. We have no time for doubt. We have no room for failure. We build or we die. The orders went out within the hour. Factories across Earth switched production. Ships launched from every spaceport. On Mars, the colonies emptied as workers rushed to join the effort. In the asteroid belt, mining stations sent every piece of reflective material they had. Woojin was chosen to lead the orbital construction. He was a pilot and engineer who had built the first space station around Jupiter. He was calm under pressure and smart under stress. He was exactly what they needed. He arrived at the construction site in low Earth orbit and looked at the empty space where the mirror would be. Behind him, thousands of ships were gathering. Millions of people were ready to work. We have 70 hours, he told his team. No breaks. No excuses. No failure. Let us begin. The first panels were placed at noon. They were huge sheets of reflective metal, each one the size of a football field. Drones welded them together. Workers in spacesuits checked every connection. More panels arrived every minute. Far away, aboard the Valoran flagship, High Commander Keth received a report. His officers showed him images of the human activity. They are building something in orbit, an officer said. It appears to be some kind of reflective structure. Keth looked at the images. He did not understand. A mirror? What do they think that will do? Unknown, Commander, Keth laughed. It was a cold, cruel sound. Let them build their toy. It will not save them. The sundering beam has never been stopped. It will never be stopped. In 3 days, that mirror will be nothing but dust. He turned away and forgot about the humans and their strange project. It was a mistake he would not live to regret. The construction site was chaos. Beautiful, desperate, organized chaos. Woojin floated in his command ship and watched the mirror grow. Every hour, new panels arrived. Every minute, new connections were made. The structure was already bigger than any building on Earth, and it was still growing. Section 7 is complete, a voice reported through his radio. Moving to Section 8. Section 12 needs more welders, another voice said. We are falling behind. Send Team 4 to Section 12, Woojin ordered, and tell Section 15 to speed up. We do not have time to be careful. We only have time to be fast. He had not slept in 36 hours. His eyes were red. His hands shook when he held things, but he could not rest. None of them could. On Earth, Yuna worked in her lab without stopping. The mirror's shape needed to be perfect. Not just flat, but curved in exactly the right way. The beam had to reflect at precisely the right angle. One small mistake, and they would miss the Valoran fleet completely. She ran calculations until her brain felt like it was burning. She checked her work again and again. Taeon helped her, but even he was reaching his limit. The curvature on section 23 needs to change, Eunice said. 0.03 degrees. Tell Woojin. Taeon sent the message. Woojin received it and ordered the adjustment. Workers moved to fix the section. Everything was connected. Everyone was part of the same desperate machine. Accidents happened. They were working too fast, pushing too hard. On the second day, a panel array collapsed. 7 workers were caught in the wreckage. Rescue teams rushed to save them. 4 survived. 3 did not. Woojin received the news and closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about the faces of the dead. He thought about their families. Then he opened his eyes and gave the next order. Place the damaged panels. Continue construction. There was no time for grief. There would be time later. If they survived, Taeon spent hours working on the targeting system. The mirror needed to reflect the beam at exactly the right angle. But the beam would move at the speed of light. By the time they saw it coming, it would already be too late to adjust. He found the solution at midnight on the second day. A positioning beacon. A small ship that would fly directly into the path of the beam. The ship's signal would tell the mirror exactly where to aim, but there was a problem. The pilot of that ship would be in the most dangerous position possible. If anything went wrong, they would die. Taeon went to Commander Junho with the plan. I will pilot the beacon ship, he said. Junho shook his head. You are too valuable. We need your brain. My brain designed this plan. I know it better than anyone. I am the best choice. You will die if the mirror fails. Taeon smiled. It was a sad, tired smile. If the mirror fails, we all die anyway. At least let me die doing something useful, Junho argued. He tried to find another option. But in the end, he agreed. Taeon was right. He was the best choice. On the moon, Minji continued to monitor Valoran communications. She learned terrible things. The Valorans had destroyed over 60 worlds with the sundering beam each time. They broadcast the destruction to their entire empire. It was a message to anyone who thought about rebellion. Resist, and this is your fate. But Mingi also learned something useful. The Valorans were arrogant. They believed they could not lose. They were not even watching the humans carefully. They thought the mirror was a joke. She reported this to Secretary General Hannah. Hannah had an idea. If the Valorans were broadcasting the attack, why not broadcast the defense? She ordered cameras placed on the construction site. She sent the images to every screen on Earth, Mars, and the colonies. People watched. They saw the mirror growing. They saw workers from every nation, every background, every belief, working side by side. They saw humans refusing to surrender, refusing to give up, fighting back in the only way they could. The broadcast reached the Valoran fleet. High Commander Keth watched with confusion. What is this? He asked. The humans are showing their construction project to their population, an officer explained. It appears to be propaganda. Propaganda for what? They are dead. They simply do not know it yet. But Warlord Drun, standing nearby, watched the broadcast with different eyes. He saw the speed of the construction. He saw the determination on the human faces. He felt something he had not felt in a long time. Doubt, Commander, he said carefully. Perhaps we should study their project more closely. Keth waved his hand dismissively. There is nothing to study. It is a mirror. A pathetic attempt to stop the unstoppable. The sundering beam will destroy it along with their planet. Drun wanted to argue, but he knew Keth would not listen. So he stayed silent and watched. With 6 hours remaining, the mirror was at 87% completion. Woojin's hands trembled as he checked the reports. They were so close. So close. Section 41 is done, a voice reported. Moving to final sections? Faster, Woojin whispered. Please, faster. On Earth, Yuna finished her final calculations. She sent them to Taeyan. He checked them one last time. Perfect, he said. The math is perfect. Yuna looked at him. He was so young, so brave. She wanted to tell him not to go. She wanted to find another way. But there was no other way. Come back alive, she said. Tien smiled. I will try. He walked to his ship. Around him, the world held its breath. In space, the mirror waited. And somewhere beyond the stars, the sundering beam was almost ready to fire. The final hours had begun. The sundering beam was ready. Deep inside the Valoran flagship, the artificial star burned with terrible power. Energy gathered in massive coils. Systems hummed with death. Officers ran final checks and reported their status. All systems ready. Hi, Commander. Keth stood on the command platform and looked at the small blue planet on his screen. Earth, home to 8 billion humans. Soon to be nothing but broken rock and ash. Open a broadcast to the Empire, he ordered. Let them all watch. Across 1,000 worlds, screens lit up. Billions of beings turned to look. They had seen this before. They would see it again. Another species about to die. Another world about to fall. Keth smiled. This was his favorite moment. The moment before the end. Fire the sundering beam, he commanded. The flagship shook. Energy exploded from its core. A beam of pure destruction shot through space, brighter than any star. It moved at the speed of light, unstoppable and absolute. On Earth, alarms screamed. Yuna watched her screens and felt her heart stop. The beam is coming, she whispered. It is actually coming. Commander Junho stood beside her. His face was pale. How long? Seconds. Maybe less. In orbit, Wujin saw the beam approaching. It was a line of white fire crossing the darkness of space. Beautiful and terrible at the same time. He looked at the mirror. It was complete. Every panel was in place. Every angle was set. This is it, he said to his team. Everyone hold position. Trust the math. Tien floated in his small beacon ship, directly in the path of the beam. He could see it coming. He could feel the heat even through his ship's shields. His hands were steady on the controls. His signal was strong and clear. Mirror alignment confirmed. His computer reported. Beacon signal locked. He closed his eyes and thought about his life, his family, his friends, the lab where he had worked, the impossible idea that had brought him here. Yuna, he whispered, I hope you were right. The beam hit the mirror. For one terrible second, everything went wrong. Panels cracked at the edges. 3 sections on the left side failed completely. Metal screamed as it tried to hold against forces it was never designed to face. Wujin screamed orders, his voice breaking with fear. Compensate. Compensate now. Adjust angle by 0.2 degrees. Workers rushed to obey. Drones shifted position. The mirror tilted slightly, desperately trying to maintain alignment. Then the beam reflected. It did not just bounce back. It focused. The curved surface of the mirror concentrated the energy like a lens concentrates sunlight. What hit the mirror was powerful. What came back was 100 times worse. The reflected beam crossed space in an instant. The Valoran fleet had no time to react. They had no shields designed to stop their own weapon. They had never needed them. They had never imagined they would face their own power. The beam hit the first ship. It exploded like a bomb. Then the second ship. Then the third. The energy spread through the fleet like fire through dry wood. High Commander Keth watched in disbelief. His screens showed destruction everywhere. Ships burning. Explosions spreading. His own fleet dying around him. It's impossible, he said. This is impossible. The beam reached the flagship. Shields activated automatically, but they were designed to stop enemy weapons, not the sundering beam itself. They failed in less than a second. Keth felt the ship shake. He saw the walls crack. He heard the screams of his officers. Then he saw the white light coming for him. His last words were quiet, almost sad. How? They are just humans. The flagship exploded. High Commander Keth died. The artificial star inside the ship detonated in a cascade failure, adding its power to the destruction. More ships died. More explosions filled the void. Warlord Drun was far from the center of the blast. His support vessel was damaged but not destroyed. He watched through cracked windows as the greatest fleet the Valoran Empire had ever built became fire and dust. 200 ships, millions of soldiers. Centuries of conquest and power, gone in seconds. Gone because of a mirror. In orbit, the mirror floated in silence. It was damaged. Panels were cracked. Edges were burned. But it was still there. Still standing. Wujin looked at it and started to cry. He was not sad. He was relieved. They had done it. They had actually done it. Says Wujin to Earth's command, he said, his voice shaking. Mirror is intact. Beam was reflected. The Valoran fleet. The Valoran fleet is destroyed. On Earth, the control room exploded with cheers. People hugged each other. They cried. They laughed. Secretary General Hannah fell into her chair and covered her face with her hands. Commander Junho stood still, unable to believe what he was seeing. We won, he said quietly. We actually won. Yuna was not cheering. She was staring at her screen, searching. Taeyun, she whispered. Where is Taeyun? They found his ship an hour later. It was damaged badly. The edge of the reflected beam's radiation had hit it. The hull was burned. The systems were dead, but Taeyun was alive. He was unconscious and badly hurt. His skin was burned. His lungs were damaged from radiation, but his heart was beating. He was still breathing. Rescue teams pulled him from the wreckage and rushed him to the medical station. Doctors worked on him for hours. They did not know if he would survive, but he was alive. Against all odds, he was alive. Across the galaxy, the broadcast continued. Billions of beings watched. They had expected to see Earth die. Instead, they saw something else. They saw the Valoran Empire lose. They saw a small species from a small planet defeat the most powerful weapon in the galaxy. They saw humans win, and something changed in that moment. Something shifted in the hearts of the conquered. If the humans could win, maybe they could too. 3 weeks after the battle, Taeyun opened his eyes. The hospital room was white and quiet. Machines beeped softly beside his bed. Sunlight came through the window. Real sunlight. Earth's sunlight. He was alive. Yuna was sitting in a chair next to him. She had been there every day since they brought him back. Her eyes were red from crying and lack of sleep. But when she saw him wake up, she smiled. It was the most beautiful smile he had ever seen. You did it, she said softly. Your math was perfect. Taeyun tried to speak. His throat was dry. His body hurt everywhere. But he managed one word. Earth. Safe. We are all safe. Because of you. He closed his eyes again. He was too weak to stay awake. But he was smiling when he fell back asleep. The world celebrated. People danced in the streets of every city. Fireworks lit up the night sky. Songs were written. Stories were told. The day of the reflection was named a global holiday. But the celebrations could not hide the truth. Many had died. 7 workers lost in construction. Thousands of soldiers killed when the Valoran beam first activated. The mirror had saved Earth, but the cost was real. Commander Junho attended the memorial service personally. He read the names of every person who died. He promised their families that their sacrifice would never be forgotten. They gave their lives so that Earth could live, he said. We will honor them. We will remember them. And we will make sure their deaths meant something. Secretary General Hannah had a different task. She needed to send a message. Not just to Earth, but to the entire galaxy. The Valoran Empire was not destroyed. Their fleet was gone, but their empire remained. Thousands of worlds still lived under their rule. Billions of beings still served them, and now those beings were watching. Hannah stood before the cameras. Her image was broadcast across space, carried by the same channels the Valorans used. Every conquered world could see her. Every slave race could hear her words. People of the galaxy, she began. My name is Hannah. I speak for Earth. I speak for humanity." She paused, took a breath. 3 weeks ago, the Valoran Empire came to destroy us. They fired their most powerful weapon at our world. They expected us to die. They expected us to become dust and memory, like so many worlds before us. Double quotes, her voice grew stronger. They were wrong. We did not kneel. We did not beg. We did not accept death. We built a mirror with our own hands. We worked together, every nation, every people, every human on Earth and beyond. And we sent their weapon back at them. The Valorans are not gods. They are not invincible. They can be beaten. We proved it. And if we can do it, so can you. She leaned forward, her eyes burning with intensity. But I also have a message for the Valoran High Council. Listen carefully. If you come for us again, we will not simply defend ourselves. We will not wait for your attacks. We will come for you. We will find your worlds. We will break your power. And we will free every species you have enslaved. Earth is not afraid. Humanity does not surrender. Remember that. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, beings watched in silence. Some were afraid, some were hopeful. All of them were changed. Warlord Drun returned to the Valoran homeworld and stood before the High Council. The counselors were angry. They demanded revenge. They wanted to send another fleet, another weapon, another army to crush the humans. Drun listened to their rage. Then he spoke. With what? He asked. His voice was calm but hard. We sent 200 ships. The greatest fleet we have ever built. The Sundering Beam, the weapon that conquered the galaxy. All of it is gone. Turned to ash by a mirror. Then we build more ships. A counselor shouted. We make more weapons, and they will build more mirrors. Or something worse. Drun shook his head. You do not understand what happened. The humans did not just survive. They did something impossible. They built a structure the size of a continent in 3 days. Every human worked together. Every resource was shared. They did not fight each other. They did not hesitate. They simply acted. He looked at each counselor in turn. Every conquered world in our empire watched us lose. They saw that we can be beaten. If we attack Earth again and fail again, we will face rebellions everywhere. Our empire will collapse. Then what do you suggest? A counselor asked, his voice filled with contempt. Peace, Drun said. We send an ambassador, not with demands. With an offer. Trade. Cooperation. Respect. The council argued for weeks, but in the end, they agreed. They had no choice. The humans had proven themselves too dangerous to destroy. 1 year later, the first Valoran ambassador arrived on Earth. It was a moment that changed history. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Valoran Empire asked for peace instead of demanding surrender. Yuna led a team of scientists studying Valoran technology. Junho commanded a new defense fleet. Every ship equipped with reflective shielding. Mingi was promoted to director of the listening station, now expanded to monitor the entire galaxy. Taeyeon recovered slowly. The radiation had damaged his body. He would never be fully healthy again. But his mind was still sharp. Anthropic offered him any position he wanted. He chose to stay in the lab. I like solving problems, he said. There are always more problems to solve. In orbit, the mirror remained. Engineers repaired the damage. They reinforced the structure. They expanded it, making it even larger and stronger than before. Some people asked why. The war was over. The Valorans were peaceful now. Why keep the mirror? Wujin, who still commanded the orbital station, had an answer. The Valorans are not the only threat in the galaxy, he said. Other empires exist. Other dangers wait. The mirror is our shield. Our warning. Our promise. He looked up at the massive structure floating above the Earth. It tells the universe who we are. We are humans. We do not surrender. We do not give up. We face the impossible, and we find a way. And if anyone forgets that, the mirror will remind them. High above, the mirror caught the sunlight and reflected it back into space. A beacon, a symbol, a message to the stars. Humanity was here, and humanity was not afraid.